At the Italian Global Series in Rimini, the Cinema Fulgor hosted a discussion with Robert Powell, the unforgettable star of Franco Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth, the miniseries that drew 700 million viewers. At Zeffirelli's request, before we started filming, we rehearsed for 10 days, even in full costume and makeup, but something wasn't working. Finally, in agreement with Zeffirelli, we decided that I should do absolutely nothing, be a completely blank canvas, exactly the opposite of what an actor normally does. This would satisfy everyone's imagination, said the actor. Powell shares never-before-told anecdotes about the auditions, the big-name Hollywood actors who were turned down, and the secrets behind a film that forever changed cinematic iconography. This is a special film feature from Mauxa-Dailybloid. Translated with deepl.com, free version.
There is something that you discover in your way of seeing Jesus that you didn't know at the time.
I'm not. It is so difficult, isn't it? It's probably the hardest question in the world about faith, religion, belief, particularly in the modern world we're living in now, where, as somebody said, what is truth? Because it's now apparently everybody can have their own truths. I didn't know that. Neither did Plato, bless him heart. But it is virtually impossible to analyze or self-analyze. Everybody's got a different approach. My approach has become slightly more practical in so much as it's a bit of a cop-out. It is a bit of an escape route, because it's terribly difficult to sit here and say that I don't believe, because that's not strictly true. Because I had two occasions while we were filming when I had a bit of help, and I'm not talking drugs. I actually did get some assistance. It was extraordinary. So I am aware of Christ, I really am. I suppose at the end of the day, the only thing that I would ever call into question is possibly his divinity, that's all. But I mean, that's quite a big one, I know. But yeah, he lived. He lived, and he was one of the most extraordinary men who has ever lived. But God, it's difficult question. It is. I don't know.
I have another more simple. What do you think that kind of the secret of Zeffirelli, Jesus of Nazareth, that 50 years later still is? I don't know. For me, it's part of my family. I think that movie is part of my family. There are movies that stays forever. There are movies that you forget. And there are movies that you feel a part of your kind of blood, of your family. So what do you think is the secret of that project that still is there and talks to generation after generation?
It's because it's simple. Really simple storytelling. Which is what, in many ways, this festival is all about. Simple storytelling. And Franco did it in spades. Franco found a way, or the pair of us did, of telling a story simply, just using the available words, the script, which was terribly important. And I think that that's the answer, really. It was, and also telling the story the way people believe it to be.
He was saying, you cannot be Jesus on the screen if you don't feel something inside you. What did you feel inside you?
Very little, because as I say, I got rid of all my normal acting emotions. I didn't use them. I didn't use any of that at all. I just found a way of being, really.
Any personal research?
But there were, pardon?
any personal research?
There were two moments that were extraordinary. I have to, but when we were shooting the Sermon on the Mount, Franco again obsessed. It was an afternoon in Morocco, and he had to shoot it. He'd done all this at exactly 4:05 in the afternoon. And it's a long take. It's a full magazine. It's 8 minutes. I know, because I've done it. And so we gathered, and the rehearsals were done, and the idea being that the sun was setting on the top of the hillside, and as it touched the top of the hillside, these lit fires all the way down the hillside, surrounded by extras and by the local population, all sitting around the fire, and Jesus was with the disciples, sort of halfway down underneath a huge, beautiful, spreading tree, from where I was going to address them with that sermon. So, and it looked incredibly beautiful, but we had to do it at that moment, because if we didn't, then the whole thing was wasted, and 2,000 or 3,000 extras would be sent home, and we'd have to bring them back tomorrow. So there's a lot of responsibility, because I've got to do this, and it's a long take for an actor, that is 8 minutes, and to remember it. So I said to Franco, I said, I'm not really sure if I'm up for this. And he said, listen, Dan, it doesn't matter. You don't have to remember. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. He said, because I completely intend to shoot the whole thing again in different locations, just as a montage. He said, so don't worry about that. Just don't worry. I said, and I've got 4 cameras. I've got a wide shot, and I've got a mid shot, and I've got a close-up. Don't worry. Doesn't matter if you go wrong. I've got an enormous amount of material to edit, so just relax. So we did, and we turn over, and we start. And I'm thinking, I'm now relaxed. Hey, I'm not going to do any acting now. So I started. Now, bearing in mind, I had never actually spoken these words out loud, meaning it, if you know what I mean. All I'd done was learn it. So I haven't rehearsed meaning it. Not a bad way of working, actually, because it did take me a bit by surprise. I started. And I just started. And started. And as I did, I looked down, and there's all these little faces, all looking up at me like this. And I probably didn't understand what I was saying, because I didn't speak Moroccan. But they were all concentrating. They were all being very well behaved. And I thought, well, this is unfair. So I thought, I'm going to talk to them. So I raised my voice. And I started to deliver the sermon properly, as if this was for real. And raised it. And at this point, it makes me shiver just to think about it. Just not that far away, maybe half a mile, was a hillside. And my voice started to echo on this hillside and come back across the extras. And I started to cry, because I'd never heard the Sermon on the Mount, not delivered properly. I know that sounds bizarre, but I'd never done it. And suddenly I started to do it properly. And all these little faces were looking at me. And I fought the tears to stop it, because I thought, this is nonsense, you can't cry during this. We get to the end of it, and I hear Franco shouting, cut, and that's it, gone. The first assistant director came over, and he said, relax, relax, relax. I want to tell you something. Down there, about 50 yards away, were the 4 cameras and 4 camera crews. He said, the camera operators are all in tears. He said, so whatever we did worked. He said it really worked. During another thing when I was doing a pickup for the Last Supper, Franco suddenly arrived. I'd arrived on the set to shoot something else, and Franco said, "Daniel, before we start, I want to do a pickup on the Last Supper. You know, I just want to do your close-up at the end." He said, "We've made a little tent for you and the cameraman, and we've got the background. It's right, so just, you know, and you got the right costume." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Right." He said, and then he handed me a piece of A4 paper. And he said, "But I want you to add this." Now this is a full page paper. And I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's John. I've taken some from John, because we hardly use John at all. And I think we ought to use him here." And I said, "When do you want to shoot this?" He said, "I don't know, 10 minutes? I said, "So you want me to learn this and get this ready and remember all the other scene and remember where all the different actors were in relation to the camera, where I could remember which actors were on which side of the table." And he said, "Yes, Dan, you can do it." And I did. And I swear that somebody helped, because I have no idea to this day how I remembered those words. No idea. But I do feel quite strongly, and I know it's really bizarre, that I did get a little bit of outside help, and the same on the Sermon on the Mount. It's stayed with me all down the 50 years. And when people say, "Do you believe?" I go, "Yeah, I suppose I do, really, because somebody somewhere was appreciating what we were trying to do and gave me a little assistance."
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.